All right, family. We welcome you again to another amazing episode. I'm still sitting here at the Black Power Station. And it's quite interesting for me because this man you're seeing here, I was told that he's traveled far and wide, and those are information that we're going to get as we go along. But he's the only thing I can say now, and then he will tell us the other thing is the fact that this is the owner who have given us the opportunity for us to sit at the Black Power Station currently in Makanda, Eastern Cape, formerly known as Grahamstown. I have to put that very particular part, but he's one of the guys who they have run this very particular Black Power stations. If you want to really know who he is, just go on Google right now, type Grahamstown. His face will pop up. I think I remember I once sent you a picture. Yeah. I'm like, I was just typing Grahamstown. I'm like, what the hell? This is Xolile. Yeah. Then I sent it to you. Remember, I sent it to you. I'm like, okay, is this you?
Yeah, I remember.
He's like, no, that is me when I was young. I'm like, okay, whoa. If you say young now, are you old?
I'm 18 this year.
You're 80 this year.
18.
18. Yeah, you know, black, there's a statement they say, black don't crack. Mm-hmm. So that's where we are and stuff. But family, we want to welcome you again. And this very particular episode is All Things Africa. It's known as the AfriOne show. And so today, sitting with me, I'm sitting with the popular Mr. X. That's his name. He's been called around the Makanda region. And so he's going to properly tell us his name in full. Mm-hmm. But before we begin this very particular show, I have been warned, advised, counseled that the Black Power Station has a culture. And this is the culture. Before we start anything, our guest will have to sit on that very particular place. But this time, he is going to open his own book and randomly pick a particular place and read before we begin this very particular show. So, before I welcome you, open your book first and let's see what you are going to randomly flip and for us to read.
I have with me Steve Biko. I write what I like.
I write what I like. Okay.
Yes.
Can you, before you open the thing, still close it? Look, let me see close. Show them. Let them see.
Oh, yeah.
That is it. That's how the book looks like. I write what I like. Now you can open.
Flip. Okay. Biko. Okay, in page 130. Biko. I think what we need in our society is the power by us blacks to innovate.
I think what we need in our society is the power by us black to innovate.
It says, Biko. I think what we need in our society is the power by us blacks to innovate.
So which means a writer, for instance, he's telling Biko what we need. If I could get that.
Excuse me?
The writer?
No, actually it's a conversation that he's answering.
Oh, okay.
In a longer conversation.
So when you read that very
speaking
particular...
to the judge.
Yeah, when you read that side, what comes to your mind?
It's exactly where we are. I guess for me, we have the power to innovate. We've been innovating. I think for me, moreover, Biko was Pofumna as a person.
Yeah.
I am influenced by Steve Biko. And then the reason why it was easy to be influenced by Biko, it is because our lives were around what he was struggling to make the people back then when they were under oppression to realize who they are.
Okay.
So for me, that statement is exactly why we're here at the Black Power Station, is that I understood the power that we have as the people to innovate, to reimagine ourselves beyond the broken society we inherited after 1994.
So are you saying at the moment, when you look at the landscape and the narratives, do we really have that innovative or the innovations literally tied to the fiber of all those Africans and even especially South Africa?
I think majority of us as a people, as black people, our innovation is based on the limitation of what we've been told who we are, not what we are and what our resources that are embedded in our blood systems to create and to innovate and continuously bring about who we are at the front. So we always try to innovate with what is already given to us by the same people who control the narrative. So the people who control the narrative is the people who are in charge of our daily lives, how when we sleep, what we eat. So in a way, I think what Biko was trying to do and what we are trying to do as a people is to say, wake up. You know, what's the point of quoting Lumumba or Steve
Sankara.
Biko, Sankara, if you're not practically doing something about it. I might quote him because proudly so, knowing that if Steve Biko during the times of the apartheid, they built a clinic called Zanempilo,
Yeah.
which still exists. And me, I will quote him in my raps, but I haven't built anything, but I have fans on Instagram. That's all I have. Then it means I haven't built anything. Let me keep quiet and let me not talk about Steve Biko. So what's the influence that we're getting? So my influence, I say Biko is my influence. And I'm here because of those continuation of who influenced him and the surrounding my culture, my systems of thinking and innovating. So
If I'm going to ask you a question heads on, do you want to say the reflections or the thoughts or the actions of Steve Biko is currently around your space?
Yes, it is. And I think, okay, it is in our space. I think because it's like the book says I write what I like, you know. Basically, if as a people we start to think about ourselves, how we were constructed to think about us, and how we were constructed to believe about how our society came about, and why poverty exists, you know, and why poverty of actually self-determination, not even the food alone, just the mindset. So I think for me, people like Biko and everyone else, our ancestors before him, and all the bloodline of people who are trying to tell us within our culture that we have a system of innovation, of creation, of continuation of the generation of who we are. You know, we're not yet extinct. So it means there has been ways of us adapting to the environment that we are imposed to.
I think the reason why I'm busy writing down is because there's some certain thoughts you were saying. I don't want to lose that thought because I'm going to use it on the second segment we're going. But before we get into the runs of things, when we look at Mr. X, who is Mr. X? Where are you from? What's your full name? And why do they call you X? Let's get to do a bit of biography in just because I know there may be a lot of things you want to say.
It's very
but
short.
in just 2 minutes.
Okay. My name is Xolile Madinda. Born in Makanda. So I guess like for me, why they call me X is because when I used to rap a lot, you know, so
You rap?
Yeah, I used to rap a lot.
But the X, X is not Twitter. It's not the Twitter X.
No. They're actually, they should be paying me for that. So no, the thing
Elon
is,
Musk, at least you hear.
I used to rap a lot with a group called Deaf Boys. In Makanda, there was a friend of mine. We had lots of us around 94, 96. We had a rap group called Deaf Boys. So my rap name was X Nasty. So basically, it was all mathematics. You must solve for X. You know how nasty I can be in my raps if I'm gonna be like political, if I'm gonna just battling. So basically, it was more like mathematically solve for X. I am that, but at the same time, my name Xolile starts with an X. So basically, it's like solve, find me. Nasty to people, nasty might mean you nasty, maybe you're doing good. So nasty is never only about the bad things. So basically that used to be my rap name. And then because many people don't remember me rapping this new generation. So Elokshini, everybody would call anyone with a name that starts with an X, Da X. So, but most people call me X, and sometimes I'd rather people call me X rather than saying my name wrong. Because I think names carry weight. They carry a symbolism why our parents give us the names. They have a meaning. So
I'm to ask you, what's the meaning of Xolile? What is that?
Xolile. For my own say, I can say it means at peace. I have accepted, the position that I am, and my parents, because there's 4 of us. My dad and my mom had four kids. The first Umdala uNosiphokazi, her name, and then after her was a Sipho, and then Xolile, which me, the third one,
Yeah.
and my sister one, my last born is Xoliso.
Oh,
Basically,
okay.
if you put the names together, it's like forms a beautiful sentence. Nosiphokazi, Sipho, Xolile, Xoliso. Basically, it may be meant to them like their God has blessed them. Now they are Xoliso was the sealing of Nosiphokazi, my elder sister, the big gift, Sipho, the gift, Xolile. Maybe they were accepted because my mother said she wanted 2 boys and 2 daughters.
Two daughters, yeah.
So there's 4 of us.
Wow.
So
Now, how did you navigate from all? Because currently now we are in your facility known as the Black Power Station.
Yeah.
And I think for me, anytime I drive into a facility here, I see the name the Black Power.
Uh-huh.
All that has been playing in my head. Why the Black Power?
Okay. There's many answers. I'll try to give you one.
Give me the one that. Okay, give me 2. Because if you say one may be.
Okay. One is this used to be an old power station.
Like electricity power.
Yeah. So outside when you drive, you would see there's a station there.
Yeah.
So this used to be the actual place where people worked.
Okay.
So back then, whatever that was. So this used to be a power station, So when I entered here, so I kind of wanted a name, the power station, The complex is called the power station. So, and I used to call the place around hip hop, live cafe, and but underlining it, the Black Power Station. Basically, there's no power in terms, it's no longer operating as a power station, it's black. At the same time, it's a place where people don't have to over-explain who they are.
Okay,
so
interesting.
We empowering in a different way. We setting a different tone of power of electricity, the humankind of electricity.
But why black and not just another name that? Because I think this is me. I just feeling that maybe because you use the word black and some certain narratives you may want to tell as to the inclusivity of what South African preach.
Well, for me, I'm not concerned about that.
Okay.
Because there's many things that we buy that have the name black, and nobody questions it. I think people will start to question the name of the Black Power Station when they feel inferior when they enter the space. Then they will have a problem, because what you're bringing up is always something that I always try to avoid to answer. Because once you do that, it's trying me over explaining who I am and why things are problematic in the world, is because we try to over explain ourselves to make someone else comfortable.
Have you been exposed to such narratives for you to explain yourself?
No, because people who I have conversations with, first they start to be comfortable with who I am. They start to see the space, they start to see what's happening here. And then only a person who's never been to the Black Power Station would think like that, would think, okay, am I going to be politically relevant enough? Because they mind it is their own consciousness of racism that they're having to battle with. Because they have not adjusted that there is people who are called black people that has a potential to do things in this world that are also part of raising the bar of the society we live in. So I get to not want to get into those politics, but I can answer it by saying this. The Black Power Station is that powerful name that I think any person in South Africa right now, if they had a chance, whether white or black, they would want to take the trademark.
If you look at your station, the Black Power Station, how involved it is with the spirit of Makanda?
Well, it is part of that journey, because Makanda himself, if you read and what they say about him, he was a man of reconciliation. He was once a missionary,
Okay.
fluent in Dutch, but that realized that the people they welcome in their land were exploiting them, were excluding them in their land in terms of production, in terms of way of life, in terms of self-determination. So that's why he gathered his knowledge of who the people were he was around. Meaning that Makanda is similar to Biko. Makanda is similar to Mandela. Makanda is similar to Krisani. Mandela is, like these are the connection of the resistant ones. So I'm part of that bloodline of the resisting ones. So now my duty is to not try find myself over explaining my responsibility. If people have a question, they must look at the response and what I've done and what happens at the Black Power Station before they bring the word black in terms of race. Like, for an example, nobody questions the name of Black Coffee.
Okay.
Because he might be black as a DJ, but it's Black Coffee. They would say, okay, maybe it might be black coffee like the coffee you drink. But people can buy a black cup. They call it a black cup, but they don't put politics to it. So in a way, you can put politics to the Black Power Station. I don't mind about that. But for me, blackness is not a political statement. It might be my pigmentation. But my way of thinking is Ubuntu, meaning a human being. So I'm beyond the label black. Black is just me being made to think that there's this box that I was placed in for specific reason of thinking, okay, you are black, you're supposed to remain here. So if I'm going to think of black in that sense of resisting, of me over explaining why I exist, why I should explain to the next person, but I also have a voice, I also have this. So it wastes time for me to innovate, like Biko was saying. It wastes time for me to be able to see that the world is mine. So in a way that actually I would want to have more conversation about the name, the Black Power Station, what it means to me. But the answer I always give, it is that inclusive space where people don't have to over-explain who they are.
When you use the word inclusive, does inclusivity there covers all blacks of all nationality? One, and your inclusivity, does it also covers or encompass the other race?
I think for me, first, we can correct and say, when I say black, I mean all blacks that exist in this planet Earth.
That includes Nigeria? Now, I just have to be practical because people are watching you now and they are listening to what you're saying, and people will tell, we have a narrative out there where an average black like you and I remember the first time I met you, not the first time, second time, where we met at that very particular place. One of the things there that you frowned at that I was using is the word foreigner. And I remember you're like, no, don't say that with me. And I'm like, okay, whoa, dude, calm down. Like, no, honestly, he said that, like, no, don't say that with me. I'm like, okay, whoa, I've been put on my toe. I asked that specifically because we have some certain narrative that is currently peddling out there. That blacks in South Africa and everybody who comes in, they're foreigners.
So I think can be a long class. I'm not a historian, but
make it you. Because we're talking about you and your Black Power Station.
So I'm gonna make it short so that we don't, because I don't. You see, the majority of people who are fixated about, for an example, if I ask a question to whoever is watching and say, okay, what makes you black? If you're black. Some would say my culture, I'm from Africa, and all these other things, my culture, my language, my DNA, my inheritance of being black in this earth. And then now would ask a question then, what makes a Nigerian black? They will say the same thing. I'm in Africa and all that, my culture, my language, my people. So now then we're in the modern times, which we are forced to think, going back, that our imagination about who we are as Africans is based on the boundaries and geographic boundaries that we are laid in. In South Africa, even the name of our country is a geographic location. It's not even the name of a country. So
No, say that because I needed to drum again.
So for me,
the southern parts.
South Africa is a geographical location in the whole, African continent. So some people call it Azania. So I think for me.
But why is it still staying at South Africa and yet we don't have a name for it?
Excuse me?
The South Africa being a geographical location and yet we can find a name for it.
There is a name.
What is that?
I guess for me at this time I might be corrected, but most of the time when I listen to most black consciousness people, they refer South Africa to Azania.
But why is it not out there?
But it is out there politically to those who want to use it for their political reference of being consciously black and aware that there's no boundary for me to say you're Nigerian, you're foreign. What makes you foreign? If I can check my bloodline and my DNA, if like in South Africa or in South Africa, we have things like Iziduko, our clan names.
Okay.
Then if we can trace our clan names, we might realize that our clan names might take us back even in the middle of Nigeria.
True.
Because our clan names are not just names we made up. These are names of people that makes who we are. So meaning that if we use our clan names as a ways of trying to find our historical connection to the rest of Africa, then we won't have that problem of you worried about you are from Nigeria, worried about that you're from Kenya, worried about that you're from Sudan. So anyway, me worried when I'm in Nigeria that I have to explain myself I'm from South Africa.
Yeah.
But if I can say I'm an African first, but I happen to be
from South Africa,
in the geographical location,
I hear you,
in the African continent. You see? So then if the narration of the politics of how we speak to each other is that, how my brother, fellow African, what side of Africa are you from?
That kind of question is not a question.
No.
To put, okay.
No. I'm meeting you for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, my fellow black African.
Yeah.
How are you?
Okay.
You obviously greet back. Yeah. I'm saying, okay, what part of Africa are you from?
Is it a question that fosters collaboration or is it a question that fosters investigation?
We're meeting for a first time.
Okay.
I'm greeting you, and I'm telling you. You're telling my name, I tell you my name, you tell me yours.
Yeah.
And I ask you, while we're greeting each other, what part of Africa are you from?
Okay. I hear you.
Then you tell from Nigeria. It's okay, great. One day I would like to go there. Since you're in my country, in this part of Africa, I would like to travel to yours. The conversation is different. I'm not asking you where you're from because of the politics of division.
I hear you.
That wants to, because when I say you're from Nigeria, obviously, if you're consciously aware of the politics that made us to have the borders and the boundaries, then we won't have to waste time to dwell on why you're from Nigeria, why you speak a certain way. We will talk about how are things back home where you're from, and then I will have to introduce how things are here at this side of the world.
As you're saying all of these, I'm just laughing because you might struggle, you might be, and I choose to be corrected because I don't live in your world 100%. You might struggle in terms of having this kind of mindset, your narratives and stuff. When you look at your fellow South Africans and you find some of these segregations and stuff on fellow black and blacks, where the example you just gave, I'm finding out from you so that I can be able to come explore your country.
Okay.
But yet you have a lot of the narrative out there where I'm finding out from you just because I want to avoid you.
Okay.
How do you balance that in your world? Because you are for Africa, you are for oneness, you are for inclusivity, according to what you've just said just now. But you find a lot that is not.
Look, it's not the same. Look, this thing is implanted in our thinking. It's not new I'm not surprised actually when us as South Africans who are like newly free physically, but mentally still locked. For an example, in South Africa, without going outside of the country, just us in South Africa, we have problems of dealing with ourselves because we've been also regionalized or boxed into provinces. If you're in KZN, the Zulu people stays there. Eastern Cape, Amaxhosa stays there. You go ahead and all the 9 provinces. And even then, in the languages people speak themselves, they see themselves superior because how the system designed it. It was a psychological design to actually, in my mind, to separate myself from the fellow person who's next to me based on their accent, based on their language. Not, so basically it's not new when you see another black person having a problem with the Zimbabwean. But I'm not having a problem with the Zimbabwean based on their attitude. I'll be having a problem with the Zimbabwean based on where they come from. So it's a problem now already. So I'm not having a dispute with you because of what you've done to me personally. I'm having a problem because I'm told where you come from, it should be a problem that me meeting you. Same what was happening during apartheid. If someone crosses the border from KwaZulu-Natal...
I'll pause you there on the part of apartheid. We will come back and we'll continue that. Family, the conversation just get heated as we come back on the second segment. Okay. We are still at a Black Power station. We're sitting with the CEO and founder of this very particular narrative right here in Makanda. 100%. He gave us this very particular facility for us to use to shoot this very particular show, and I believe that you're enjoying it. If you have any question, please feel free to definitely email us on the email that is currently available on the screen. Let's get talking. He's pushing the narratives. We're about to get into the side of apartheid, where it all began. We're right back after this break. Don't go anywhere. But we must be able to understand that if we are to build a continent that we want, we must be able to understand what is the continent challenge. I'm not talking about Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa. Please, I'm way beyond that. I'm looking at 1.3 plus billion people in this continent. So don't come here and tell me about Nigeria or Ghana or South Africa and co. That's your opinion. That's your right. It's fine for you. If that's where you want to stay, stay there. But don't project your fear to me. Because trust me, I'm going to throw it out of the window and you're going to think I'm rude. I understand your fears, but I'm not going to subscribe to your fears. So we must understand the continent challenge, number one. And number two, we must be able to understand how to be able to collaborate. The spirit of collaborativeness. And when we talk about spirit of collaborativeness, we're talking about united in thought and united in action. All right, family, we're back again on the second segment immediately. Still here sitting with the founder and the brain behind the Black Power Station. Before we went on break, we're talking about the whole concept of your journey. From then you were at the apartheid side and I paused you so that we were able to just go drink water because you're about to get deeper. Let me allow you to continue conversations around the whole narrative of us, how that's the mindset and the construct of seeing.
So maybe let me be slow so that even myself in my thought pattern and
I'm sitting down properly now. When you say that, I adjust my seat.
So that even myself, you see the power of talking. You can also hear yourself.
True.
And my father always said to me, the reason why you have ears is so that you can hear yourself speak. So when next time you ask me the very same question, I'm the first person that my subconscious will remind me of my own words. So I must remain truthful to myself because I hear myself. Not only these are made to hear when you speak to me. I must hear myself so that, because most of these conflicts that we're having is divisions, were things that were made for us to listen to and then we started saying them. And then we are saying things that we don't mean. When you say things you don't mean, you start having fights. Because when you don't want to speak anymore, what you're going to do, your limbs will defend you. Because your mouth got you to this trouble. So your limbs must defend you. But
are you saying that is what brought in xenophobia?
No, it's beyond xenophobia. It's not an easy thing that we can point out. It's a systematic thing that needs to change the whole narrative of how we think as people.
Okay.
Which is why I was explaining that for any black person that has a problem, whether in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, wherever in Africa, they have the same problems in their own country.
True.
Where the division of other black people who come from a certain race, still black, let me not say come from the same black community, but have different accents, different cultures. They will have problems. I'm sure you can name a lot, just 4 or 5 from Nigeria.
No, there's a conflict there between the Igbos and the Yorubas, the Hausas and the Igbos.
Now take the same narrative. It's systematically done to all of us as black people in order for us to be divided, to not come together as unified. It's a system. So in South Africa, the same system was designed to order for us to not relate. Because once we relate, we can innovate, we can create, we can come together. We won't have problems with white people. We would have problems with what we're not doing for ourselves in order to become better. Not to become like those who oppress us, not to become better citizens, community builders, community reflectors. So for me, I mean, for an example, if you Xhosa, there's an illusion, a belief that AmaXhosa don't get along with AmaZulu. But I can say that's stupid. That's implanted in your mind. Not to say we didn't have wars in between or conflicts. That's normal. Human nature for people to fight. But now when someone implants the mindset and the belief that we are different, that's when the danger comes from. You start to believe the narrative that was given to you. For an example, in isiTuko, which is your clan name, you can diffuse that tension of saying that AmaXhosa and AmaZulu don't get along by saying, like someone who says Dunguzulu Skoma, and then you say, okay, these people you're calling names, where do they come from and who they are? And I can say mna because ndingumNgqosini, yabo ngugaba. Then I'll say ndingusuthu. Yabo. So we know there's abeSuthu. Why would I say mna mXhosa, I still have a problem nabeSuthu? Kodwa when I call my clan names, the Suthu people appears in my lineage of my clan names. Meaning that isiTuko, our clan names, are the key to unlock the divide that was put on us during the time of divide and apartheid.
But it's getting this year will be 30 years.
No, but it's not 30 years. It's more than 400 years.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm saying now the journey towards healing, reconciliation, oneness, it's 30 years.
Yes, but also the education system and the cultural day-to-day practice. That's why we are enforced to adapt things that are not embedded in us so that we can continue understanding that we are different and we are not supposed to be one people. So because if you live in a modern world where it says, what does it mean to be a South African? You say, okay, we have certain common things like we have Pride Day. No, what makes me a South African is that I am a person that has a culture that you can only see maybe
and enjoy within my space.
I know that within Eastern Cape, I know there's certain traditions that I could find kwabeSuthu, like Ukwaluka, for example, boys going for the initiation. That's something similar to other people. So meaning that I'm there not because on a certain day that we go together and watch rugby and bring meat. No, that doesn't make me that. That's just a party. But what runs in my DNA is my culture. Even though if I choose to not practice it, but I know when it's practiced in front of me, it affects me.
Do you think that our cultures literally have a way of reminding us of our oneness, our Ubuntu, like you people say it? Do you think our culture play a major part? And why is it that our culture is beginning to fade away?
You know, that culture is the fundamental principle of who we're supposed to be as people.
Okay.
And especially the language.
Okay.
the language becomes key.
Yeah.
For an example, most people adapted themes like Ubuntu, not from their own consciousness of what that word means. It's translated in English, even how it's pronounced. People don't want to say Ubuntu. There was a Ubuntu because they want to pronounce it in the way that the person imposed it upon them. So, like let's say for an example, any person who speaks isiXhosa or isiZulu or Nguni language, you say have Ubuntu. Let's say you take this book away from me, and to show that words have a systematic controlling system. If you take this book away from me and I come back, I want to take it from you, and you use the very same language towards me, you say, I'm an ex, have Ubuntu. Automatically, when you speak in that sense, my blood, my body, my way of functioning freezes because my body knows what that word means. Ubuntu means be kind, be godlike. Do something to someone that you would wish to be done upon to you. So meaning that I still want my book back, but you've used the language that makes me think that, okay, you've taken my book, ne? But now let me wait. Conversate back to you, bruh. I need Lingwat. Because this is my book. You see, now I'm the one begging for my book because you've used what? The language that makes me calm down and not aggressively take my book back. You see? So meaning that language is the master for us to be where we're supposed to be. So in a way, our culture, even if I come to your home and then there's a ceremony, automatically, maybe from music, from the way the family interacts, I will find a memory that will connect me to back home, similar to your ceremony, whether it's done where in the world. There's things that would link us.
You know, as you're saying all of this, the thing that is playing on my mind is, and permit me to ask the question, it may sound whatever.
No, don't worry.
It's how did you get to find yourself having this? Because now this is me trying to take you back to the process of how you get to where you are.
Okay.
Because many of us will struggle when we hear people like UX talking the way he's talking, and it sounds strange. Like, okay, bruh, are you sure you're not exposed to the reality that we're exposed to? What's up? You're sitting with a, I know you don't like it, but you're sitting with a query and you're having such conversations. I'm like, but that's their reality. This is your reality. How did your reality evolve to become what it is today?
I guess it goes back to the statement I just made that our culture and our language.
But every other people have culture.
Yeah, but they do. But the culture, if you practice it without consciously aware that you're practicing it, it's you living it. It's like I may not be 100% making an example. For someone, when people are in religious groups, when they fight, you say, you're a Christian, but you don't act like one. What does that mean?
Okay. So it means there's certain expectations for somebody who's a Christian.
Yes, because there's principles what makes you a Christian, right?
Yeah.
And those principles, those people who practice that religion would understand what those principles.
True.
When on a daily basis, when you practice those principles, there's certain things that you won't do that speaks about division, because you are embodied the life of being amongst people who are diverse. You know that we're all created by God, meaning that we're all children of the one person, meaning that how come we should be divided and fight? So if I'm saying...
I think I'm still trying to get...
Okay, let me go back. My exposure is this. First, I grew up in a family where, let me not say I'm putting it wrong, English becomes a problem when you have to address the same questions about us as African and finding
an answer using English to narrate.
I guess let's use their language that is popular out there.
Okay.
Decolonizing the African slavery mind is to be able to understand Ungubani, who are you?
Okay.
First. So if you are a Xhosa person who practice amasiko, the culture,
Mm, mm, mm.
you're bound to know ungubani, who you are. Like I'm a man, I know as a Xhosa man what makes me a man is not going to the bush, is being the carrier of my traditions, the carrier of the next generation, the carrier of knowing that what makes us ekhaya. Now I'm going to be an example and continue with the legacy of the family. So now, in a Xhosa, it's like we know that you have to protect the family. You have to add on to the family. You have to participate in things that makes the family. So now what makes the family is knowing that, okay, I have brothers and sisters, there's cultures and all these things. What do they mean to sustain the family? So for me, my uncle, if you can shorten it beside culture, the politics, Malumwale Esther was into Black consciousness.
Okay.
So he was like a serious Black consciousness person. The stories he tells me that the first time he had to meet Ubiko, he walked from here to Ginsberg.
Wow.
He couldn't get to a taxi or car or transport because people would ask questions and they will follow you. So because he was an activist. So he walked and catch lifts maybe in somewhere, but he didn't take a taxi that took him straight to where he's supposed to be, but he had to find ways. So he found out that I was rapping. And then he came to me with books. There's a book called Time Longer Than a Rope.
Okay.
And then he gave me a lot of books like Black Wednesday, lots of books that he had in his house. He says, read this.
Now I see.
But he also said, I don't want you to do this rap thing that will make you westernize and Americanize you. You will lose your culture. So then he started saying, why do you speak so much English? Why don't you start doing this rap thing in your mother tongue?
True.
Then you will start correcting yourself when you're saying things that are mean. So he was the person that made me rethink who I am in this modern time.
Okay.
So I started thinking, okay, if I'm going to talk about change in the society, how do I think about that in a society of Black people and how we were oppressed and how we were made to think the way we think? So I started rethinking, re-questioning things like I didn't want to say anymore that I'm from the ghetto. I didn't want to use that word anymore because I wanted to know, what does that ghetto mean? What does that word mean? So like for an example, when you say, I'm Suge Lokshin, I'm from the Lokshin, so say I won't die, I will die here Lokshin. I was like, what does Lokish means? Means location. And then location means it's not the name where I am. It's a location. It's a practical space where I am. So why this place doesn't have a name? Why is it designed the way it's designed? Why everything is congested?
Okay.
So I started asking these questions that, okay, I can't use this word because this word makes me think a certain way. So what is freedom to me became different. I didn't inherit freedom after 94. I inherited freedom from my uncle that told me that you are free because it's how you think. You're not free
so
because...
your mind was already exposed.
Yes, because of the politics at home. My uncles are into politics. My Maluma Lester was into Azapo. My uncles are in the ANC. So all of these things, there's Apla, all these things were happening in front of me that made me exposed to Gucci. My freedom is not someone building me a house. My freedom is not someone else giving me a job. It's for me to find self-determination.
Okay.
My freedom is not to say I'm equal to a white person. My freedom is to know I'm equal before God. So now the narrative changes. That my fear is not that I'm not educated, I'm not wealthy enough. My fear is that, am I useful enough to the environment that I live in to impact change? Because we have many...
When you find yourself with different nationalities in the continent where we are, what goes through your mind first?
it's good to see different voices of Black African fellows.
And when you find yourself outside of South Africa, your continent, because I think a little bit whisper to say you traveled out of our continent. How was your experience that side compared to the experience you received in your own continent here in Africa?
Well, first, strange.
I like it's a strange.
It's very strange.
Okay.
Out there in the world, outside Africa, there's less conversations, free conversation, unless it's organized. People don't greet each other much on the street. It depressed me to get in a taxi and greet someone and have a conversation, and that person will think that you want something from them. It was difficult to find those realities, even amongst Black people themselves.
Okay.
It's difficult because some of them don't understand. I come from an environment where, we talk. Even if I don't know you, it's like the way we greet each other is different.
So you struggle when you find yourself outside of
the
continent.
but because I started to understand their ways of thinking, then for me, I didn't want to impose my way.
Okay.
Because now it meant that I'm going to make them more uncomfortable. My intention was not to make them uncomfortable, because I'm already, all of my life, people before me were made uncomfortable to take someone else's reality. But at the same time, I know my existence in that space made a difference, because I started telling people how I live.
Don't you think that the uncomfortability that you are afraid of in terms of telling your own story is what an average South Africa is currently experiencing, because it feels as if when this so-called different nationality comes into the country, we make them uncomfortable?
Look, man, I understand them.
Okay.
I understand that there's popular narrative of Africans relating to each other, especially how South Africans relate to Nigerians and anyone else outside of the country. There are politics in between. We can't deny that there are certain people of our race that are problematic, that brings problems in our society.
Okay.
And those people might not be ashamed of it. And there's a reality that here as South Africans or people of Africa or the world, we choose to not take responsibility of. No one comes to anybody's countries without those people allowing them to do so. There's certain people in South Africa that benefits from the chaos that we bring to ourselves. There's certain business people who allow, whether, let's make a typical example from, there's a popular thing that Nigerians are drug dealers.
Yeah.
But as if there were no drugs in South Africa before Nigerians arrived. Meaning that maybe what has happened is that the same people who are doing that business are finding problematic. And now the market is huge. Similar applies that in South Africa, meaning that if the business of drugs was helpful for other families during whatever time before South Africa was open to other countries, it was beneficial to certain people. Now everybody can trade and sell drugs, meaning that it's a problem of the country to not have proper hardcore principles and ways of dealing with drug dealers.
Drug issues, yeah.
So basically, the stigma happens to fall on the Nigerians. So I think also for my fellow brothers who are Nigerians, it's their duty to actually say, look, let's deal with this, because it reflects bad on us. Because no South African is going to stop changing their mindset if the popular, because everyone lives surviving on what's shown in front of them. But the funny part is, on a communal space, you'd find the same people who might be doing these things we don't agree in the society. They're part of a society. They have friends within the society. Beside what they do, selling the drugs, they happen to integrate themselves in the community. They happen to have children in the same community. So meaning that it's a very complex problem that needs us as South Africans to actually look at and say, okay, there's a problem of drug use.
Okay.
There's a problem of violence. There's a problem of crime. There's many of these programs. South Africa is open to other countries and other people who are wanting a way of living. And one of them is maybe crime and selling drugs. And that is actually happening. And also we can say maybe as South Africans, we are in trouble because we recently got our freedom. So we're trying to find ourselves, who we are and how we can navigate this freedom.
Do you think South Africa can open its border too quickly?
Excuse me?
Do you think South Africa can open its border too quickly for different nationality to be into the country? Especially, I'm still holding it around our continent, Africa.
I won't say they open it quickly because I won't know before if the borders were that open.
Okay.
Maybe they were open, but there were rules and not to say people were not traveling outside and inside South Africa while there was apartheid system. Maybe I can say now it's so open enough because people from Nigeria knows that there's black government running there. They'll be lenient to another black brother.
Okay.
Maybe that's where the exploitation is for those who are into criminality.
Okay.
They know that the black people are in charge in that country. So I won't be treated badly like I was coming to a country that was run by maybe white people, because they're also, during apartheid, black people, wherever they come from, they knew Ugutiba, the white people during apartheid didn't care if you were Nigerian, Zimbabwean, you are black.
And that's it.
That's it. It ended there. So now we're living in a time where you are defined based on where you come from. So meaning that the judgment of the border, the openness of the border is based on Africa. South Africa, when it got free, it meant black people are free. It didn't just meant only South Africans. It meant all Africans are free to become Africans in South Africa because we are all in Africa.
Yeah.
But the only problem was the system of change was not integrated in our lifestyle, on how to think, how to organize, and how to do things. We relied on the government to tell us how to relate.
I think the question I'm going to put for you, and then we'll prepare ourselves to go for a break, will be, do you feel that at the moment where we are, and I'm happy that you run the Black Power Station, and from the narratives that you are telling, do you think that we'll ever get to the point where the show is called AfriOne?
Okay.
And the motto of it is to unite, to innovate. You spoke a lot about innovations, especially with Steve Biko's book, and also to elevate one another. Do you think from what you are seeing and the experience you are currently experiencing, that we will ever get to the point where we become one Africa? Number one. And number two, our leaders, are they helping that narratives to become a reality?
I think for me, Africa is already a one. But because we have to ask these questions because of the divide that is created to give us an illusion that we are not together. Because outside of the conflict of the drugs, the crime, people are living. People are living life. People are connecting. There's black people connecting with all types of races beyond the boxed mindset of us thinking that Africa is not united. It is united, but because it's not a huge spectacle, now we struggle to understand that we're already united, but we're distracted by...
I'll pause you there. He said united but distracted. And I want him to take the narrative on this final segment that we're going to be going into as now being united and distracted. How do we solve the problem? And what part do our leaders have to play? Still on the AfriOne show. I remain your Afropolitan Apostle, sitting with Mr. X, as he's popularly called, in Makanda. See, he's stretching because this place. I'll be right back just now, my family, on the final segment. Don't go anywhere.
100%.
2 assignments I want to give you this year. Number 1, be deliberate in making friends with people outside of your tribe. For those of you who are afraid of different nationalities, it's okay, but be deliberate in making friends with Zulu, Xhosa, Pedi, Shangani, Swahili. Name those very particular languages you can think of. Be deliberate. And make friends. This is the thing I'm going to say. Make friendship not because you want to investigate and find fault. Because many of us would like making friendship to investigate and find fault. Like, yeah, they said it. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down. The reason why you're even finding people who are causing you pain is because you also are a pain. Let's be honest. I don't know how I got there, but you pardon me. You also are a pain. But number 1, be deliberate about looking for authentic friends who are outside of your nationality. And number 2, do business with someone that is outside of your nationality. Do business. If you're asking what kind of business you want to do, come and meet me. Let's talk. Inbox me on this very particular place. You're watching this very particular stuff. And we'll talk. And for those of you who literally want to travel out of the country to go and do business somewhere, please, you can hit us up on our website. Just go check our website, AfriOne.Africa, and see all the things in which you can do. And send an email. Let's see how we'll help you facilitate collaborations and partnership with different countries in Africa. All right, family, we're back again on the final segment of the show, still on the AfriOne show. If you have any questions you want to ask us, please use the email that is currently available on the screen. We're here with Mr. X, was the CEO and founder of the Black Power Station here in Makanda, formerly known as Grahamstown. I'm enjoying my holiday. I'm feeling bad leaving this very particular place to go to the Joburg hustling and the bustling. It's just so calm. I like saying to my wife, I said, Grahamstown, you guys' calendar is like 2002. You guys are just chill.
Yeah.
It's not as hustling like it is in Joburg and all of that. Before we went on the break, we're talking about that we're united, but yet that is this very particular divide.
Yeah.
And I need you to be able to tighten that very particular knot. Based on the question I asked you, that are you sure that we're going to get to the point where we're going to be AfriOne? And you say we are there and we're united, but yet we're divided. I'm like, okay. Explain that part.
I think to go back, like for me personally, my views are like this, even off camera. I have these serious. This is why the Black Power Station exists for me, because I think as people, man, if you listen to elderly people before us, they used to smuggle talking about real issues.
The issue, yeah.
They used to hide to talk about these things. So even if someone is gonna say, "Oh, look, X is, you know what, he's talking nonsense," actually, you must, before you say that, ask yourself, why do you say that? So I think for me, Africa is united but distracted, because if we were not...
Oh yes, use the word distracted.
Yeah, we're united but distracted in actually realizing that. You know, so like historians can give us, maybe you need a historian sometime, you need to interrogate Black historians to come and talk about these realities, about why we think the way we are. Maybe a psychologist also to actually talk about the psychology of a Black mind in South Africa.
We'll get that. We'll get that.
Because these things are also psychological, and also these things are political. So the mixture of economy, the psychology, and the politics, those are the things that are not governed by Africans with the vision of bringing the realization to the younger generation. So what's going to happen? Young people are organizing themselves on Facebook, Instagram, on their website, on the streets, in hip hop, music, in the creative industry. So for me, for an example, here at the Black Power Station, I'm trying to practicalize Ukutiba. Africa is united, and Africa is part of the world, actually. Meaning that we are an influence to the world. We've been an influence, but it's just that our thought pattern are influenced that we are third world. So our views are not as important as someone else who's outside of Africa.
Okay.
So meaning that if we can know as Africans that the reason why we have films like Black Panther with an influence of isiXhosa and Swahili and other things, even the dress code, is because we are an influence to Hollywood.
Yeah, but the story is our story, but
but the language spoken in the film itself
I hear you.
is a revolution for us as South Africans or African. We enjoy the film better than someone who has to get subtitles that might not be accurately emotionally connecting to that person. So meaning that Africa is always going to be influencing the world. Now, Makosa with his clothes, Black Coffee with his music, he's influencing the world. That's just a few minority that we're naming. Africans are designing important buildings that are outside of Africa. We influencing, but we don't attribute that back to us. We attribute that the West is developing. We're not. Basically, we have been designed to think less of ourselves, but the world knows that we're very important. So meaning that when we can start a conversation that says, look, don't ridicule the show. Say, okay, the show is talking uncomfortable things that makes you have a pain body of a memory of something that has happened, which you're trying to include that memory to something that is not related. So for me, I believe that Africa and our leaders, our leaders are influenced by the global politics. They're not influenced by the African politics.
Do you think we have one as an African politics?
No, look, we are. But it's just that we as a community, we're not, what can I say?
Because let's be honest, when you look at our leaders currently now, and they say, okay, fine, X, we hear what you're saying, but what is African politics?
Look.
What is African business?
Look, man, it's a very difficult thing. I might not be absolutely 100% accurate to someone else. But my thoughts, for me, for an example, I talk about my own experience that I'm providing and say I'm playing my part. Without giving money to someone else, I'm creating a platform. The Black Power Station, I call it the International Arts Destination, which is to say that here at the Black Power Station, if you have something to share to the world, let's have difficult conversation, but with the hope that we can come to an understanding how we can move forward. Whether you're white or black, doesn't matter what you call yourself, but when you enter here, you must come here with intention to make an impact and change. But you must be open enough to be interrogated your point of view, not us only listening to your point of view.
I hear you.
So meaning that as Africans, we have not got to the point where we can say, okay, we all have different political parties that have an agenda to say we want to service the people. We are in a political year this year in South Africa, for an example. Everybody's going to be marching on and telling people who to vote for and not to vote for. The majority of the parties are run by black people. And these black people will never get to a point where they say, okay, what's the agenda? Besides the agenda of saying my party's label or logo is the one that will be the one seen that is governing the people.
Yeah, but they'll give an agenda that we brought you out from slavery. We fight apartheid and stuff.
No, but that was not the agenda. The agenda was for us to free ourselves, to think for ourselves, to determine ourselves. But now we political parties that are focusing on to saying, we have these numbers, we have these policies, but these policies don't govern the country. Because another political party has to question that in parliament, the implementation of whatever good policy you might have. You know, for an example, if you have DA, ANC,
EFF.
AZAPO, EFF, ANC would tell you that anyone would not deny the policies of the ANC that are accurate, they're proper. But they will say the implementation is not proper. Now you ask the question, Why is that a problem? What makes it not implemented properly as it is in their policies? Maybe it's because in Parliament, they would argue about it and say this and this and this, all the details. No? And those who are implemented, the policies that are implemented, they are all falling to corruption, right? And then all of us will focus on that. So no more, we're not going to look at but why the whole entire parliament is not taking this policy that we all agree on that is useful for the country. Let alone our division of political party, but this policy is proper. Let's all fight for it and be implemented. But it can't be easy like that because each political party must report to their constituencies and say that we are making it harder for them to implement so that people can see they're working. Whether it's EFF in charge, tomorrow their policies, whether it's useful for the country, people will argue against it because that policy might mean that people will say it comes from EFF. So meaning that the agenda is not the policy, the agenda who's in charge. So that's what is distracting us. So in a way that someone else will say, but X, would you mean now if DA has a policy that is good for all of us, does it mean DA has to be in charge? But now it's not about the political party. The principle is what is that DA is providing that is not yet already been on the table, that is not been implemented.
Is that you talking now from a standpoint of inclusivity?
Yes, because the thing is, what is distracting Africans is that we have not been looking inwards. The African Union might not be politically aware what is their moves. But I think for us as Africans, once we start to speak to our people in our own mother tongue, that on its own will make us more accountable to our people. Because we speak most of the time in a language that they don't understand.
In a foreign language that is hard to even explain.
Yes, even between me and you now, we're having a conversation in English, which even for you, it would have been simple if you spoke your language and I spoke back to you with the same language or maybe in isiXhosa. But I think when we speak truth, it doesn't matter what language you speak.
Yeah,
it lands where it's supposed to land. But now what I'm trying to argue for, as the place, like the Black Power Station, we use the arts as a way
to communicate,
to interrogate what blinds us to find unity as a people. So, for an example, here we have called something Supper and Sounds, which is like a live performance where you get food. You know, when you come, you pay a ticket, you get a piece of food. And then we always have conversations like this before an artist perform. So meaning that we're creating a home for dialogue. We're creating a home for you to feel as an artist before a superstar. Meaning that you have to be accountable for the music you create. Not to say, it just was my creative process. No.
Yeah, but another thing that I want to ask based on your Black Power Station you just mentioned now will be, when these artists define themselves, obviously you represent our narratives, you want to tell our stories, and so that's the reason why we have a lot of books that are African focused and stuff. Now, how then does Black Power Station hold those artists? Because you guys communicate from the standpoint of art, hold them accountable to what you guys have discussed here at the Black Power Station?
I think most of the artists themselves, they can speak for themselves truly. Most of them who came here are people who believe in the same politics. I think artists are the main people who are addressing these divide.
No, I agree.
So meaning that artists have a power to actually gather and maintain the balance. Because if we're relying on politics, I'm telling you,
it ain't gonna happen.
So we will be in wars.
Yeah.
But artists supersede that. They're like the voice of the community. So meaning that, for an example, you might have like people say, "Oh, Nigerian this," but their favorite artist might be a Nigerian artist.
Nigerian Davido.
Yes.
Or Nigerian Whiskey.
You see, they love him because they see the personality and what he presents.
Yeah, true.
So now just imagine if you break down the relations of what we have as the people in that level. you start to see we're already united. It's just that we're spending time looking at the negativity that has been fed to us. And that becomes the narrative of how we relate to each other. So in a way, I think for me as X, the Black Power Station, is to live beyond the idea of Ukuti, Africa is divided. Africa will remain divided until it will remain divided and remain not united, because we will allow other people to tell us how we relate to each other.
As we begin to bring our thought to a close, which I really appreciate all your honesty, even though they were a brutal question. AfriOne stands for three things. We stand for unity.
Okay.
How is Black Power Stations, including yourself, fostering unity?
I guess for me, I could say in practical terms, visit the Black Power Station when there's a show, and then you experience it for yourself.
Okay.
And that might not be the answer someone else is listening now, but I guess when we try to start to deal with reality on the ground, then we start to feel that we're actually breathing and we're living. So I think as the Black Power Station, we try and actually make people accountable for what they say.
Okay.
So even myself, I'm learning through that process.
All right.
As a young man, as I am, I'm learning to unlearn the habits that makes me stay in the cycle of limbo of not reaching my potential. So I think for me as Black people, Blackness should not be about trying to over-explain who you are. It's just a tip. The rest is you are a human being whose great potential gave the influence to the world.
Okay, it's close.
So that's, for me, I think that's how it is. The Black Power Station, it is the international arts destination. We will use art as a way of bringing inclusivity and discuss politics, discuss using our cultures and ways to navigate between these politics. So for me, I think, as I said before, my politics about myself and what I think are not absolute to a certain extent, that I've lived this long because of my thinking that I'm no longer oppressed in how I should think about myself.
Now, with that, the second thing there is everyone tell a story of innovations.
Okay.
How do you think that, from your own standpoint as Africans, understanding the struggles that we're currently having, how do we come together to innovate?
I think, first of all, is this conversation. Maybe this should be archived somewhere and be turned to any forms of communication. This is a communication platform where we're innovating, because we can't have people in a room. This conversation won't be finished if there were 50 people in this room.
Obviously.
With different opinions. They would be stopping each and every moment. But this is a platform where one person can pick on a topic and go through. And we can innovate by helping each other as people.
So you believe in collaborations?
Yes, collaboration with intention. I think most of the time...
Intention defined as?
Intention, for an example, for me, like I want to grow the Black Power Station.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to support that
must come with innovative idea for you.
The innovation of whatever, let's say you have the podcast you're doing. It wasn't hard for me to say, let it be done here.
True.
Because by it happening here, it might not be seen as a grand innovation, but it is an innovation, because now people who watch your show, they would want to know about the Black Power Station. And then people who are into the live music and the discussions that are happening at the Black Power Station might be interested. So there's interrelations that we're having. So basically, we must be able to create an ecosystem of working together that feeds on each other, not to say take and go. So I think it's the more like the intention to say, I want to build a relationship with you. The moment I shake your hand, whether you're white or black, but your intention is what I'm interested in.
True.
It's like prayer without intention is useless.
It's useless.
Because if you can be answered now, you won't know
You
that
won't know
your
what the
answer.
extension of the resources you're asking for is. Yeah.
No, maybe you know, but now you are told I pray to have a car, but you didn't go and study to have a learners. Now you have a car, you can't drive.
You're
the
confused.
car.
You can't drive again.
Yes, you can't drive. You can't drive because you never went and learned that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you pray with intention that, okay, I want to build a black power station because Steve Biko built a clinic while they were chased by evil apartheid system. Me as X, I'm saying I'm influenced by Biko and anyone else who was for change. Then I built a black power station. So meaning that I'm practicalizing the idea of
Innovation.
and also being part of a community that builds an inclusive society that also shows that, like, for an example, just to end a little bit, for an example, in the township or any community, you would have 5 kids who would make it in the world, maybe graduate or become something. Everybody treats those people as if they owe them something. And their people, when they walk the street, it's like whatever money you work for, you owe it to the people. Yes, you do owe it because you're currency to that community.
True.
But if you are currency in that community without that community understanding that they also a currency to you, by not just seeing you maybe driving a car, meaning that you've made it. You might be in debt trying to pay for that.
True.
But it doesn't mean that now everybody sees you as a better person. What does better means? It means we should create a system where as people, we share. So meaning that we shouldn't be happy that there's one kid who passed in the community. All the kids should be passing. All the kids should be having clothes. Meaning that as a society, we should be coming together. And it's embarrassing for South Africans and for Africans as a whole to say, let's say we are a family, but there's people who are homeless. There's people who say families are broken because, but people say we share the same clan name.
And yet there's broken family within
But
that
you cannot offer any help to that family, meaning that we have lost our touch of who we are. So meaning that AfriOne, it has to question the fundamentals of who we are on a practical level in terms of family relationship. Yeah. So we start there, then we start to see, okay, that's why now this is like this. That's why now boys who sit on the corner on the street and do nothing because they don't see their value in the community. Because their value is only if you get a job, get an education, and get married and have a house. That's the value they give to you. They don't see you as a human being who can be able to be practically in charge of something, helping something. We're all going to grow. Our uncles are going to pass away. We're going to be in Zekaya. We're going to be heads of the family. But if no one treats us like that from a younger age, to be someone who will be head of the family, no wonder why people will say, being on Facebook, I can say whatever I want because this is my Facebook. You don't see yourself representing your family anymore. So meaning that AfriOne needs to ask the basic structural family questions, how our families as Black people have been managed. Then it's easier to understand the bigger problems. Yeah.
I think that's a good one. I think maybe we'll have to do a part 2 of my conversations with you. But the final question I'm going to throw at you here,
okay,
will be, when you wake up and you think about our continent, Africa,
yep,
you literally have 1 minute to answer that. What comes through your mind?
When I think about
our continent,
the future,
what is it like?
Greatness, and it is great even now. We just have to open our eyes.
And on that very particular note, family will come to the end of this very particular sessions. And I believe that we have hardcore conversations with my very good friend here, X, who is the founder and the CEO of this very particular place. I promise you it's a beautiful place. I want to encourage you, if you find yourself in Makanda, Grahamstown, for some of you, like, okay, what is that? Rhodes University, for some of you who are outside there from South Africa. Many of us know Rhodes University, but we don't know where the thing is located. So Rhodes University, that's where we are currently now. It's literally from here to Rhodes. How many minutes? 5-7 minutes?
Yeah, nothing in Makanda is less is more than 10 minutes.
Exactly.
drive.
Not in Makanda is more than 10 minutes. So I want to encourage you, please visit Makanda, visit the Black Power stations. There's a lot of books here that I can tell you point blank. Sitting here is just calm. I like the spirit. I like the vibes. I like what is happening here. And I'm hoping that one day Makanda will become an international, recognition. And thank you for literally being authentic.
Yeah.
Thank you for making sure that our story is preserved here.
Yeah.
And all I can say is the fact that sponsors who are currently looking at me, I want to encourage you, call him. I'm going to ask him just now in terms of how to find him and stuff so that we can then be able to preserve our heritage. He's doing all he can. And it's on the platform of collaborations we can actually preserve our histories. With that being said, how can people find you?
How can they find me? I guess
You're guessing. You're supposed to know.
Yeah, they can find us at on Facebook, the Black Power Station. Everything is like the Black Power Station.
Which place is very easy for you to communicate?
I think Facebook is easy,
Just use Black Power Station Facebook.
Inbox the Black Power Station, and then we'll reply back to you.
All right. Family, and that's how we come to the end of this very particular show. All things Black Power, all things discussing African narratives and how to reshape all that is currently going on. Please, if you have any question you want to ask us or you're not comfortable about the truth we've put on the table, please, you can definitely email us on the email you're seeing on the screen. And if you want to bring him or you want to come do something in this wonderful facility, trust me, it's very beautiful compared to what you're seeing on the screen. That I can tell you point blank. Make sure that you find yourself in Makanda here. And just go to Google in case if you're confused and just type X or type Jamestown. You will see him. When that happened for me, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is a celebrity. That's why he's sitting where he's sitting right now. But I really appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for taking out the time. Thank you for giving us your beautiful facility to shoot.
No.
I hope when we come back again to shoot again, the door will still be open.
Always, man. This is the beginning of more great things. So, nothing can change from now on.
Exactly. And family, with this being said, I want to encourage you, please make sure that you subscribe to this very particular channel, follow, like, comment. All comment that you can bring on this very particular table is welcome. Your narratives and your story, it's very important for us also to share from your standpoint. And like he says, so that we can have a collective view and work from that point.
Yeah.
With that being said, I'll see you on the next episode. I remain your Afropolitan apostle, Darlington Steve. Bye for now, and God bless you. With that being said, I want to make a call. I'm looking for like-minded people who believe that they can work with me and my team. And for some of you, literally, you may not be here physical, but you can choose to collaborate with us either adversary level, or connection level, even monetary level, because hear me, we are currently now with a team, we're putting up some certain events and shows we want to do that will involve traveling. And that will also cost us money in terms of paying the staff, hotel accommodations, and all of this very particular thing. If you're a government agency, or maybe you're a private parastatus or a private business, you own something that you feel that you want to use as your own way of supporting this very particular narrative. You may not be sitting on the camera like my kind, but your money, your intelligence, your wisdom, your advice can help us and can channel us. I need advisors. I'll be very honest. I need advisors for me. The Bible says the multitude of counsel is there is safety. So I need a lot of counsel to be able to guide me. I'm calling that I need partnership. I need you to join me to collaborate and to build this very particular AfriOne. You may be a graphic designer, a videography, whatever that you are doing. Come, let's work together. Let's work together. With this being said, I so much appreciate you for taking out the time to listen to me today or to watch me. And I believe that this is not the last time I'm going to be seeing you. This year, literally, expect mind-blowing shows, expect conversations that are going to be thought-provoking, and expect some certain narratives we are going to be deliberately doing with government officials and business and people. We are pushing ourselves literally into the water. And that's why we need you to collaborate so that when our feet get to the water, we can guarantee that your boat is by the side to pick us up. I want to say thank you.